Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So here is the deck profile for our updated Mathmech build. It looks a little bit different than the one from the combo guide. I mostly included Dotscaper in that combo guide video just to show off like the one card play with it. But if you're interested in seeing some of the new combo lines that Mathmech is capable of, then I would definitely recommend that you check out the updated combo guide, the 5 important new Mathmech combos to know that I posted yesterday. I'll go ahead and link that video in the description below. But this is going to be the deck profile, so I'll talk here a little bit more about my deck building choices and some of my thoughts about going into it. And then, of course, as always, we're going to see some gameplay with this build. So, as far as the lines go, right, we've got all the stuff for the circulars, of course, we're playing Mathmech, but additionally we have the defensors as well. One thing that I found when I was researching this deck, particularly looking at OCG builds, right, that I thought was really interesting is that they didn't play defensor. Like, if you look at Road to the King builds from around the time this support came out, they just didn't play Firewall Defenser. And it's so bizarre, because after that, Circular went to 1, and it seems like they didn't even really try Defenser. They just kind of gave up on Mathmech altogether. Which is really weird to me, because Defenser is one-card combos by itself. You don't need to open any other cards or have any other cards in hand to make plays. The only deck-building requirement that Defenser has is you have to play Nabla, which is honestly not even that bad to play in general, like, already. If you are playing the spirits, like Aratama and Sakitama, which they did in the OCG, they actually prefer, it seems anyway, that they played those over Firewall Defenser, then ideally for the Aratama line, you would have a Nabla in your deck anyway. So I really can't see that being the deciding factor as to why you wouldn't play it, but for whatever reason, I don't know, I guess I just didn't like it, but I love it. I think Defensor is an amazing card. Again, it's more one-card combos, so like, now, before we had 9 one-card starters, right? We had 3 Circular, 3 Cynet Mining, and 3 Small World, and now we have 12, so now we have the 3 Defensor as well. And I've seen some people say that, like, oh, this is going to be the death of Mathmech, this is going to get Circular limited, and it very likely will. I don't disagree with that, and honestly, Circular might even just need to go to 1 anyway. But here's the thing, that's not going to be the death of Mathmech, because we, as we just discussed, we have 12 one-card starters now, and if we lose 2 Circular, we still have 10. That's still 1 more than before the Defensor came out. So I'm feeling very optimistic about Mathmech, not only now, but in the near future, even if the Circular does get limited. So in that regard, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're doing here is stuff you'd pretty typically see in Mathmech, like the Cynets and the Small Worlds, as discussed. We, of course, have the Superfactorial, but there are a few things that we're doing that's a little bit irregular, or I guess things that are not here, right? I want to talk about notable cards that I am not playing. So, in this build, I am not playing Heat Soul. That's the big one. And I've already seen on the combo guide, I'm actually recording this pretty shortly after that video went out. I've already seen a couple people say, well, no, you want Heat Soul because you can set up the Cynet Conflict. This is another card that I'm not playing. I've tried Cynet Conflict with, like, the Microcoder and the Heat Soul, and I do know about the combo lines. I know that you don't have to open Microcoder, that you can send it and, you know, make it part of your turn 1 combo line. But I don't think that's better than ending on Singularity. I've not been impressed with Cynet Conflict when I've played it in the past. This card is only good exactly if you go first. If you draw it literally any other time, it's terrible. This is an awful top deck. This is, like, one of the worst top decks you can have in this deck, honestly. And a lot of the time, the same is true of Microcoder. I'm not impressed by them. And then the thing with Heat Soul, you know, I already discussed that, well, you know, Heat Soul, if you need to end on a card, if you get disrupted, you can end on Terahertz much more easily now. But people were saying, no, you Heat Soul to set up the Cynet Conflict, and then also you get multiple draws. But, like, even if things go perfectly right, and you do turn 1, you do your combo, and you can't set up Cynet Conflict, I don't think necessarily that an Omni and multiple draws is better than multiple bounces. That combo line with the Singularity already sets up, I mean, we have the Terahertz sending the Aggregator and the Desavewurm as 2 negates, and then the you know, Superfactorial bringing back the Diameter. Like, we already have 3 negates. I think I value, at that point, having a little bit more diversity, right, in our disruption. I like the idea of playing multiple bounces instead of another negate and multiple draws that may or may not be our hand traps. I just think there's a little bit more certainty to it. And again, more importantly, I think that there is more diversity to it, right? Because sometimes the extra negate, like, isn't enough. The other thing about Cynet conflict that I also don't like is that if your opponent, like, starts by threatening your Heat Soul, then you're kind of forced to use the Cynet conflict against that. Or, you know, God forbid your opponent, like, uses, like, a Kaiju or a Kurikara on your Heat Soul, and then your Cynet conflict is just dead. So, like I discussed, again, I actually responded to comments in that video kind of explaining this case as well. But to explain it here in the video too, 3 main reasons I don't like Cynet conflict. 1, it's only good going first. It's not good at all at any other point after that. 2, you have to go way out of your way and do a very specific combo line just to set it up, and I don't necessarily think that's better than having multiple bounces. And 3, it can very easily be turned off by your opponent targeting your Code Talker monster. So, because, again, I've already had those questions, and I know people are probably going to ask in this video too. I just wanted to explain some of those deck building choices. It also frees up the extra deck for more slots here, like Link Spider. I like having the Link Spider, and you might see this and be like, normal monster? We don't have normal monsters in our deck. Why would you ever play Link Spider? Link Spider is here to help if we get Nibiru, right? So if you get Nibiru, you can link the token off for the Link Spider, and then if you have a Cyberse extender, you have 2 Cyberse monsters, and you very easily have plays. Let's say your opponent even Nibiru'd after you use Splash Mage. You still have options. You can summon the Link Spider, summon one of your various, Cyberse extender monsters, right? Could be any of these. Go into G-Golem Crystal Heart. G-Golem Crystal Heart can bring back the Link Spider, and then that can set you up into a Transcode Talker right there. So from there, you can find typically various plays. The Link Spider just adds a little bit of... It just helps the deck play more through various disruption, which is something the deck already does extremely well. So I think just bolstering that power is very good. And then the other thing that I am doing that's maybe... I don't know, I see more people doing this now, which I think is more correct, is the Gatchiri ad Ignister. Especially, as I've said before, since we're making Terahertz on turn 1, using Gatchiri to make it, it becomes unaffected through the opponent's turn, and then it's just an 8,000 plus attack towers, and literally, if your opponent doesn't have a Kaiju or Lava Golem, there's like very, very, very few ways for them to actually be able to out that, aside from like a Karma Cannon or something like that, but... Alright, I think that explains just about everything. I mean, we have some random piece of disruption. Ghost Bell helps against Bestials. Kurikara helps against Kashira boards and also Noir. You can get away with one of each because we're playing a small world, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we'll see some gameplay. Alright, so for this build, we are on 1 Effect Veiler, 1 Kurikara Divine Incarnate, 3 Maxx, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, 1 Firewall Guardian, 1 Mathmech Sigma, 1 Mathmech Nabla, 1 Mathmech Addition, 2 Mathmech Subtraction, 2 Mathmech Diameter, 3 Mathmech Circular, 3 Firewall Defenser, 2 Gatchiri Ignister, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 Cynet Mining, 1 Mathmech Equation, 3 Small World, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 1 Infinite Impermanence, 1 Mathmech Superfactorial, and then 2 Red Reboot. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Cyberse Desavewurm, 1 Primathmech Laplacian, 2 Primathmech Alembertain, 1 Mereologic Aggregator, 1 Link Spider, 1 Linguriboh, 1 Link Decoder, 1 Update Jammer, 1 Splash Mage, 1 G-Golem Crystal Heart, 1 Transcode Talker, 1 Accesscode Talker, 1 Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid, Neo Tempest Terahertz, and then 1 Firewall Dragon Singularity. So that's going to go ahead and do it for our list. Let's see these games. Alright, our first duel is actually going to be against Gatchiri. It's not a deck you see around as often, definitely not anymore, but it's still a matchup that's worth considering because going second, as we are here, if they can manage to set up a Rise Heart, sometimes it can be very difficult. Now, obviously here, we just have a phenomenal going second hand. Maxx, Nibiru, and Imperm. We're going to fire off the Maxx, and this seems a little bit aggressive to use the Imperm on the planet Pathfinder here, even though I've already Maxx'd, but I decided to go ahead and do it anyway. The main reason that I wanted to is because it would force my opponent into a situation where they either have to tribute the Pathfinder to no effect and not be able to get the field spell on the follow-up turn if they have a follow-up turn, but then to special summon a Gatchiri from hand, which would give me the Maxx draw. The alternative is that they just end on the Pathfinder, which is what happened, and in that case, especially because I already have Firewall Defenser, this means I already have plays, and I don't need to prioritize drawing cards in order to find plays in this situation. So they're just going to set a card and then pass. We end up drawing a second Firewall Defenser. I'm going to summon the Firewall Defenser to my field, and I did misplay here. I should have special summoned the Mathmech Sigma before linking off into the Linguriboh. That was just a misplay on my part, but I decided to just go for it here, right? But fortunately, my opponent decided to use the Book of Moon here. Now, here's the thing. I kind of don't know that I agree with using Book of Moon there, or it might be more apt to say that I don't agree with my opponent necessarily using Maxx there. I wanted to show this game because both my opponent and I kind of did the same thing, right? In terms of, like, we used Maxx, but then we almost immediately afterward very aggressively used another follow-up disruption, which discouraged the player from playing into Maxx and thus drawing cards. Again, I explained my reasoning for why I did it, but for my opponent here, I guess, again, I don't think the Book of Moon was the wrong play here. I don't agree with firing off Maxx. I guess, when did they fire it off, to be fair? If it was during the draw phase, that makes a little more sense. Okay, it was after I normal summoned Firewall Defenser. That's what I thought. I feel like you probably should have, well, see, I don't even necessarily disagree with them waiting for me to go into Linguriboh and then using Book of Moon on the Guardian, because I did end up having the Sigma in my hand. That was actually the correct line, but I think my opponent should have just done that and not played Maxx. I guess that's where I'm getting at with that, so. Again, it's kind of interesting. You can make arguments on either side, really, but now my opponent is able to follow up with the Planet Pathfinder and proceed with their plays, which is, I mean, to be fair, I have the Nibiru, so we are already playing. Wow, is Unicorn's rank really finisher number 6? Finisher rank number 6, rather? That's actually very surprising. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, we have the Nibiru, so we don't need the Maxx draws. I mean, really, in any retrospect, we didn't need the Maxx draws that badly because we already had both the starter and disruption that we would ideally want. I'm toggling my Nibiru here. I was toggling my Nibiru here during the actual game, just to make sure that they didn't, try to pivot into a play around it. I did stop toggling off when the Arise Heart hit the board. And this is when my opponent threatened to move to battle phase. But I wanted to do it there because I feel like at that point, my opponent could reasonably go into battle phase anyway, and I don't want to risk missing the trigger. So I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand this Planet Pathfinder normal summon, like, at all, frankly. I don't get why my opponent normal summoned this card. They triple attack to draw 2, which is like, I don't really know about that either. Like, I only have 2 cards in hand. And to be fair, I guess I'm on Mathmech, which has a lot of top decks, so maybe the hand drip doesn't have a lot of value there. Okay, I think the draw 2 was actually correct there. I will say that much. Upon thinking about it for another moment here. Okay, so they're going to mill me 3, I think? Yeah. They milled Small World, Red Reboot, and what was the other one? Equation? Yeah. Adding the Ogre. Moving to battle phase, hitting the Guardian. Yeah, I don't understand the Planet Pathfinder normal summon. I don't understand. I thought, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to go to fast forward. I meant to go to pause there. I can see they have another Maxx, but I thought they were going to go for a Dawn or Dagger for hire. That was my first thought when I saw these two, but no. Anyway, oh, but they played Theosis, that's right. Maybe they went through the same thought process. So, anyway, they are going to Maxx again here. And at this point, I'm just going to go for it. Because the other thing, too, is that Gatchiri, it's not like unheard of, but it's also relatively rare for that deck to be on Nibiru. Because playing Nibiru against the turn 1 board isn't really that beneficial, because you can't special summon your Gatchiri monsters, etc., etc., so I wasn't very scared of that, honestly, of the Nibiru. And because they have the field spell in play... Oh, finisher rank. Oh, that's right. Okay, I thought finisher rank is how often the monster attacks per game, right? Okay. I thought it was, like, the most used card. Like, that's why I was surprised by Unicorn. I guess I'm still a little surprised Unicorn is number 6, but... Accesscode being number 1 makes sense. So yeah, I went to move the battle phase. Opponent has the Scareclaw Gatchiri. But I didn't use Mathmech Circular, so it doesn't even matter that I don't have another monster to banish here, because I can attack with more than one monster this turn. Oh, also, the reason that I didn't set up the transcode to have another pop, which in hindsight maybe I should have done, but also I'm kind of glad I didn't, because on the off chance they are playing Nibiru, I do want to ideally win in as few special summons as possible to reduce the odds of them having Nibiru, or I guess really any surprise card that might screw me over here. I can't think of another example off the top of my head. Outside of course, stuff that doesn't see play anymore, like Gore's, Battle Fader, etc. But anyway, yeah, that is our first duel against Gatchiri. Let's go ahead and see the next game here. Okay, so this game was against Pendulum Magician. And they are playing a lot of Pendulum Magician's more usual tech nowadays, which is like a mini Gatchiri engine, the Valence field spells, so we're going second yet again here. This time we have an Effect Veiler to help us out. Nice thing about Mathmech is that even with the Firewall Defensers, your in-engine stuff is like relatively non-committal, so you don't necessarily have to play that much of it. So you have a lot of room for various kinds of disruption. So I'm definitely going to Veiler the Electromite here. What was interesting is that my opponent didn't, and maybe this is just a typical Pendulum thing that I don't know. I guess I was a little surprised my opponent didn't activate the Pendulum Sorcerer, because I think I probably would have Veilered it, to be totally honest with you. I think I would have Veilered it, but they didn't use it, which is fine, so I decided to Veiler the Electromite instead. Alright, so that's negated. We don't have to worry about any of its effects. They do have a triple attack, and maybe one of these was one of the cards they already had in hand, but in any case, they're going to draw two, and then suddenly they have a 1-to-8 scale, so it's like, of course. Of course they do. Getting the summons, they get to use the Pendulum Sorcerer effect anyway, adding the Butler and the Dissolver. Dissolver will allow them to... Oh, the Electromite's negated, right? Oh, and they're popping the field spell? That's fine, yeah. Yeah, so no draw, thankfully. Yeah, the Dissolver will allow them to fuse for the Absolute Dragon using the Butler and the Pendulum Sorcerer. Absolute Dragon, no, not Absolute, that's the Xyz. Vortex is a fusion. Vortex is the Omni-Negate fusion. Alright, Butler comes back, and that is a Link 4 for the Appaloosa, so... Gonna have to play through 4 monster negates and an Omni. Royal Appaloosa, too. Very nice. Alright, I'm going to start here by activating the Mathmech Circular effects, setting the Sigma. They do actually allow it to be summoned. I'm going to try to activate Sigma, but the opponent's going to Appaloosa and negate that. That's 1 of 4 monster negates down, so... And the thing about Appo is, of course, as always as ever, we can just try to get it down to enough attack points where we can battle over it. So I'm going to try to search with the Circular. They have another negate for that, so that's 2 down. And at this point, it's in very much battleable range, but we're going to end up forcing another negate anyway as we go for the Alembertain. It actually would have been better for them to use the Vortex here, I think. Although, I don't know, I don't fault them for not doing it, because then, of course, I'm free to activate pretty much anything. So now I'm going to try to Cynet Mining, pitching the Superfact, but they do end up having the Vortex F, so... But I am not out of plays, because I don't believe I've used my normal summon yet. Nope, have not. So, what I can do here is I can normal summon Circular, move to battle, I'll hit over the Appo, and then during the main phase 2, I can use the... Or not use the Alum effect, I'm just going to go ahead and link the Alum and the Circular off for Splash Mage. Now, Splash Mage is going to bring back Circular. I get to link off the Circular for Link Decoder. And you're about to see yet another reason why I like Firewall Dragon Singularity. Spoiler alert, that is actually what we're going for here. I mean, this isn't like, you know, a bullet point reason to play Firewall Dragon Singularity. This is a relatively niche situation, but it is nice to not have to go into access code to pop here. I get to save that for an OTK line still. I can just use the Singularity to bounce away this Vortex Dragon, and leave my opponent in top deck mode, and they also have to play through the Singularity bounce, because that is, of course, a quick effect, so... Alright, being on a Pendulum deck, I don't think it's very easy for them to top deck 1 card as an out anyway. But here I have the Gatchiri, so now that I have 2 Cyberse monsters, I can go ahead and link these 2 off to go for the G-Golem Crystal Heart. I even get to use Gatchiri to make the G-Golem unaffected in case my opponent has like an Imperm or a Veiler or something like that, so... G-Golem brings back Transcode, Transcode brings back Splash Mage, but then here I realized that, oh, Transcode can battle twice and has 3,400 attack. That's just lethal. So there we go. And actually, even if that weren't lethal, the Splash Mage would, like if they were still at 8,000, the Splash Mage would also just be able to attack for lethal anyway. So yeah, I mean, I really like having the G-Golem for follow-up like that. And as you can see, you don't even have to like build into a terahertz or update gem or access code. You can just kind of like have 2 Cyberse monsters and then just like start vomiting monsters out of your graveyard again. Oh, that's so good. This deck is so good. Let's go ahead and see our next duel. Okay, Runic Stun. Runic Stun is going to be our next opponent. Always a fun time. Always a fun time. But I think we do go first this game? We do, yes. So that's always a relief against Stun, right? And we have a full combo here. We have Defensor plus Gatchiri. That's even like kind of a full combo plus, right? We can normal summon the Firewall Defenser and link that off for our Linguriboh. Defensor will then, of course, pull the Firewall Guardian from our deck, and we can link those 2 off to go for our Splash Mage. This will proc Firewall Guardian's effect to bring itself back from the graveyard, and then, of course, our Splash Mage can bring back the Firewall Defenser. We'll overlay the 2 for Alembertain. And we can activate the effect to add ourselves a Circular. Doesn't seem like they have any disruption, which makes sense if they're on Runic Stun. I don't imagine the deck plays a whole lot of hand traps, right? They're usually not even like on Maxx or anything like that, so it's pretty much always just able to go off uninterrupted here. Alright, we are going for the Singularity line, so I will make a Link Decoder here. Gonna link those 2 off in order to summon our Transcode Talker. Link Decoder brings itself back. Transcode Talker is going to bring back the Splash Mage. Now, these get linked off for the Singularity. And because we no touchy the Nabla, we get to now sack off the Nabla while it's pointing, or while Singularity is pointing to it, rather. This will proc Singularity to bring back the Transcode. And we even have good old Gatchiri adding Nister to make sure that our Terahertz is going to be unaffected by any card effects. Win rate, time of appearance, almost 80%. That's kind of insane. I mean, that's from like old Mathmech statistics, but normal summon Fossil Dyna. Here, I'm gonna not only Veilware the Fossil Dyna, but also, I think in a moment here I end up using the Superfactorial. Yeah, because they chained. Oh yeah, they chained the Smiting Storm, and then on a new chain link, I'm going to use Superfact. They don't have a response for that, which is of course good for me. I get to set up an Omni as well as get the Dyna off the field and a card out of my opponent's hand as well. Alright, Laplacian's going to hit the Dyna, and the card in hand is Thrust. Snipe that Triple Tactics Thrust right out of the opponent's hand, and it's funny that they conceded to that, because even if I hadn't hit the Thrust, I had actually multiple ways to stop it. Not only did we have, of course, the Diameter negate attached to the Laplacian there, but we did also send the Cyberse Desavewurm to the graveyard during our end phase, or during our last turn, rather. So we had multiple ways to stop it, but I guess my opponent decided that they just were not able to play. I mean, they had 3 cards left. There was no way they'd be able to play through this. But anyway, we have another duel. Let's go ahead and see that here. Okay, for our final duel for this video, we're going to be up against a mirror match, actually. Interestingly enough, my opponent is not on Defensors, even though this was after they came out. Because I'm going to have... Well, I don't know if we'll see Defensor, but I promise it is in my deck. Like, I'll even, just for posterity's sake, I'll show you the Singularity in my extra. But I guess they elected not to play them. They're on the Microcoder and Cynet Mining stuff, or not Cynet Mining, Cynet Conflict, which we already talked about that in the profile. I will say, I don't think it's bad. I don't think those cards are bad. I just personally don't find them optimal. I kind of find it... I think it's a little bizarre, frankly, that people see Microcoder Cynet Conflict as the standard and not playing that as optional. I very much see it the other way around. Where I think it's like a cute package you can play if you want to, but I don't know. Yeah, I already talked about it. I don't think it's worth devoting the main deck slots, but... Alright, yeah, this is going to be a pretty typical one-card combo line with Circular. No extender this time, but it's funny. It's like, darn, I only opened the one-card combo line. I guess I'll just have multiple pieces of Disruption in hand instead. It's like so good. This deck is so crazy. But you'll notice that I'm not going for Link Decoder here because we don't need it. We're just going to go for the Terahertz and nothing else. We can save the Link Decoder for later. We might need it. Who knows? Better to have it not need it, right, than need it not have it. Average battle damage shoe of 7,928. That's cute. Alright, they're going to Cynet for the Dotscaper. That's interesting. Forgot about that. Mathmech Circular sending Sigma. Gonna draw. I'll also use the Superfactorial here. Opponent does have the Called by the Grave, but there he is. There he is. Desavewurm saving us from the Called by, and the opponent concedes. That is so satisfying. Like, as somebody who's been playing Mathmech for not just recently, but also like I've historically played quite a bit of Mathmech. Like, it's so satisfying. You have no idea. To see that Called by against the Superfact get negated and the opponent concede in response. I'm so glad that Called by is done screwing this deck over. Oh, that card was the bane of this deck's existence, but now, not even an issue. Not even a problem. So, that's going to do it for these games. Hope you all enjoyed the new Mathmech deck profile. Let's go ahead and just move now to our outro. Alright everybody, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching all the way to the very end. That means a whole lot to me, and it's also a fantastic way to support the channel. And if you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways besides YouTube, there are plenty of ways to do that. If you check out the description below, you'll find a bunch of links down there. One of them goes to my Patreon. You're actually seeing the names of everyone subscribed to the Patreon on the screen right now. So if you're interested in getting your name in the credits here at the end, if you want to see more daily Master Duel content, or if you're interested in one-on-one private coaching sessions, I offer all of that on Patreon. I also stream live on Twitch. Feel free to go ahead and click that link and follow and or subscribe there. I also have the Discord community, if you want to follow that link, where hundreds of duelists have already signed up. Free to join, and you can just come hang out, talk about the game, and chill in general. Final link that's going to be in the description is my Twitter. You can follow that if you want some more notifications of what's happening with the channel. So, all in all, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic day.